Hello and welcome to Science Research Weekly, Season 4, Episode 32, Arsenic Worms and Medication Turns. Get ready for deep ocean oxidation dates. No giant impact for Jupiter's core. Common meds making antibiotic resistance worse. Arsenic-mineralizing marine worms. The July 2025 top 40 new CRAN packages. A plea for PyPAN. The Python Package Archive Network, and a grant on aging mammalian tissues in vitro. This episode covers materials from August 22nd to August 28th. Let's get started with some research articles. First up, Mid-Devonian ocean oxygenation enabled the expansion of animals into deeper water habitats. So using selenium geochemistry, researchers pinpointed the time frame of deep ocean oxygenation to the Middle Devonian, or 393 to 382 million years ago, which actually corresponded with what they call the mid-Paleozoic marine revolution for animals, where marine animals radiated into deeper ocean habitats. So the idea is there's a lot more oxygenation in the ocean, in the deep ocean, so animals could actually colonize the deep ocean. So very interesting. Next up, no dilute core produced in simulations of giant impacts on to Jupiter. Jupiter has a dilute core, which means it has an extended compositional gradient of elements. And this dilute core was thought to be caused by a giant impact by an object 10 times the size of the Earth. However, given advanced simulations of giant impacts, a dilute core was not produced in any of the simulations, so they couldn't get the simulations to spit out a dilute core based on a giant impact. And also, it turns out Saturn now appears to have a dilute core as well. So what this suggests together, that dilute cores, rather than being sort of an anomaly that needs to be explained by something crazy like an impact, they're actually a typical feature of giant planets. Next article. The effect of commonly used non-antibiotic medications on antimicrobial resistance development in E. coli. Researchers tested 9 common non-antibiotic medications in cultures of E. coli and found that 2 of them, ibuprofen and acetaminophen, common painkillers, increased mutation frequency and conferred resistance to the antibiotic ciprofloxacin. This suggests that antimicrobial resistance is fueled not only by the use of too many antibiotics, but also by other medications like non-antibiotic drugs such as ibuprofen and acetaminophen. And our final article for today, a deep sea hydrothermal vent worm detoxifies arsenic and sulfur by an intracellular biomineralization of orpiment, As2S3. Para vanilla hessleri is a bright yellow alveolid worm that colonizes deep sea hydrothermal vents in the West Pacific. And they can get to places on the vent that are too toxic with arsenic for other animals. So they're the only ones that can colonize that certain section of very high arsenic. But how do these worms tolerate so much arsenic? Researchers were able to find out that they actually biomineralize the arsenic into orpiment minerals, fighting poison with poison, as the authors state. These worms are incredibly bright yellow with tentacles, brachial apparatuses, and a segmented body trunk. All right, let's turn now to our research tools. There are 3 new R-bloggers posts. First, from Joseph Rickert, the July 2025 top 40 new CRAN packages. My top packages, my picks for this section is under data. There is Galaxius, which provides tools to access the Darwin core data standards for biodiversity information. Under machine learning, there is the Survey DNN, which implements deep learning models for right-centered survival data using the Torch backend. That includes the Cox partial likelihood, L2 penalized Cox, time-dependent Cox, and accelerated failure time loss models. Under medical statistics, there's the GHR Explorer, which provides commonly used visualizations of temporal and spatial temporal health data, including case counts, incident rates, and covariates, including time series, heat maps, seasonal plots, maps, and more. Under utilities, there is the GE Lite, which simplifies the creation, management, and updating of local databases using data extracted from Google Earth Engine. And then finally, under visualization, GG Chord, which visualizes pairwise blast alignment results as a chord diagrams by extending ggplot2. And then there's MoveEZ, providing functions to create animated biplots that enable dynamic visualizations of temporal or sequential changes in multivariate data. Our second R-bloggers post from Chris Bolden on how many parameters does GPT-5 have. Not having any official counts from those companies or from that company, he estimated the parameters based on performance, actually relative to other models, while using regression. The prediction, well, at least for GPT-5 on the high setting, 635 billion parameters. And finally, our third blogger's post from Econometrics and Free Software. Python needs its CRAN. The case is that installing a Python package is still a gamble because there's no real ecosystem that makes sure packages don't break each other. After going through a variety of different shortcomings, the plea here, the suggestion is actually creating what the author suggests as PyPAN, the Python Package Archive Network, essentially CRAN, so the comprehensive R archive network, but for Python. Speaking of CRAN, we have 7 new CRAN packages that might be of interest. There's HAM, Healthcare Analysis Methods, multi-deploy, deploy file changes across multiple GitHub repositories, sample size calculator under complex survey design, tidypopgen, tidy population genetics, ML spatial, machine learning and mapping for spatial epidemiology, GWAS to CRISPR data pipeline for high throughput SMP target extraction, and GG dice plot visualization for ggplot2. And closing out section, there is the European Bioconductor Conference, which is scheduled for September 17th to the 19th in Barcelona, Spain. If you're like bioconductor and you're in Europe, this might be up your alley. All right, closing out in our grant section today, 3 grants from the NIH. The first one is Aging Mammalian Tissues in Vitro. This is an R21 clinical trial not allowed. And it aims to develop complex mammalian 3-dimensional in vitro microphysiological systems to model aging and recapitulate aging processes / phenotypes observed in the whole organism in vitro. And then the second and third are both Stephen I. Katz Early Stage Investigator Research Project grant. They're both R01s. The difference is one is clinical trial not allowed, while the other one is basic experimental studies with humans required. Either way, the award supports an innovative project that represents a change in research direction for an early stage investigator and for which no preliminary data exist. Arsenic-raising protopods. Thanks for joining me for Science Research Weekly. Science on.